Good evening and welcome to the AtRiA March 2023 webinar. This time we feature Charu Gupta. Charu is pursuing her PhD in mathematics education, and previously she taught courses related to the pedagogy of mathematics in the elementary teacher education program at the University of Delhi. In fact, this article, Strip with a Twist, is the outcome of her work in these courses. We feature this article in our March 2023 issue, which, if you are subscribing to it, you will get in about 2 or 3 weeks. But the online issue is up, and I request Shanaz to put up the link for the online issue in the comments. Welcome, Charu, to the webinar. And it's a pleasure to have you here. I going to start right away with the questions because we have a lot to discuss. And I just want to ask you, what made you choose this topic? How did you go about setting up this activity?
Yeah, so first of all, thank you so much, ma'am. And so when I came across a magic trick from one of the books by Martin Gardner, so wherein many magicians, have made use of these some properties of twisted paper strips to trick their audience. So I found it quite exciting, and I thought it could open up some interesting possibilities, for the student teachers. So that's how we began with it. Ma'am, you are on
Thank you,
mute.
Charu. Thank you. Thank you, Charu. Tell me all about how you prepared for this class. What are the materials you made? How did you go about planning this activity?
Yeah. So we use some very easily available material like a lot of paper strips. We are also using old newspapers, old magazines, just a pair of scissors and some glue or tape. So let me just show you, how we went about it. So I'm starting with this paper strip. So just give a half twist. I hope you can all see it. Okay, and just tape the two ends. So this is how it looks like. If I
Oh,
if I don't give any twist, you know, this is
okay.
something we are all familiar with. A
The
normal
crown.
paper band that we have all
Yeah.
seen.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is a paper band with no twist, and so this is with one half twist.
Okay.
Alright. So give one more half twist to this. Give one more. Right. So now
Okay.
this is a full twist, and then you join the ends.
Okay.
So
Okay.
this is how it looks like.
Okay. Great. Okay.
So that is how we started with.
Okay. Great. Great. And then, did you prepare any exploratory questions? Did you? I notice a kind of line on the strip. Is there? Did you?
Yeah, yeah. So I'll
Yeah.
just talk about it. So now we wanted to explore the properties of the strips. So first of all, I asked students to draw the line on the surface. We wanted to know how this one half twist, what has it changed about the paper strip. So now if I start drawing a line on this paper bed, you can start anywhere on the surface, keep drawing the line, till you come back to the starting point. So this is the strip with no twist. So here you can see, the line on the outside, but there is no line on the other side, right?
Okay. And this line was in the middle of the strip, right?
Yeah, here I have actually drawn it at the along the midline because then I will also cut it across that midline only.
Okay.
Otherwise, you can start anywhere on the surface. Okay, till you come back, so you will find the line on one of the surfaces and not on the other side.
Okay.
But what happens with Mobius strip when you start drawing a line, and come back to the starting point, so you can see a line all around the surface, the entire surface.
Wow.
You know,
Okay.
you can't see any space, where there is no line.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So that is how it is changed. So this is the Mobius strip, actually named after one of the mathematicians who invented it, August Ferdinand Mobius. And he was not the only one who discovered it. It was also independently discovered by one more German mathematician, and that too almost at the same time. Johann
Yeah.
Benedict listing.
Okay.
So that
Okay.
is the one-sided surface that we have with us. We
Lovely.
started with a two-sided paper strip and ended up, with that half twist with a one-sided surface. And
Great.
when you, yeah, and again with, this is the strip with full twist, one complete twist. So again, did you line across it? So again, you can see, like that normal circular loop, you can see line on one of the sides and there is, no line on the other side. So it's
Okay.
somewhat like that normal circular loop. It's again a two-sided surface when you give it a full twist.
Double twist. Okay. Okay.
And
So I
then,
can see a teacher taking this and showing this, and uh, but how do you get mathematics out of it?
yeah, but then when we started cutting it, I will take you to a tour of it. So we started cutting along these mid lines. Okay, so
Yeah.
all these lines were along the middle, lengthwise. So then we started cutting along these. So I mean, this is so familiar. So all can predict what is going to happen. So these are the, two circular loops that I'm going to get, just like the original strip, but narrower than it, half the width. But
Okay.
now when they went about cutting the Mobius strip,
Yeah.
okay, so what happened was you end up getting, a single strip. So
Okay.
it's not
Okay.
divided into, many pieces, but you end up getting a single strip, though with many twists. Okay, so that's what happened. And also when we cut the third one with one complete twist, so we ended up getting, two interlocked bands, these two
Okay.
interlocked strips, which were very much like the initial strip only. It's only that the width was, now they were narrower. It's half
Narrow.
the width.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
And the
we
length of
started
the Mobius
extending.
strip was double, right?
So, yeah, the length was doubled and the width was half. So
Yeah.
there were no separate rings that we got.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
just one single ring that we got.
Okay. Okay. Then did you plan any questions for your class? This is, I mean, you got your class to make the strips and do the cutting, is it?
So
Okay.
let me just present and I can show you, how we took it further than what all students did with that, the
Yeah.
observations that they got. Yeah,
Yeah. And these were student teachers, right?
yeah, these were student teachers. These are prospective elementary teachers.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, most of the times when I'm saying students, so I'm referring to the student teachers,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm presenting my screen.
Yeah.
Please let me know when it's visible.
Yeah. Yeah. It's coming on. Hmm.
Yeah,
Great.
so
It's
I'm just, yeah. So these are the three strips that I just showed you. This is how we
yeah.
started. And these are the resulting strips after cutting along the midline.
Yeah.
So now students started adding more twists to the strip, So we tried with no twists, then strip with one half twist, which is also a Mobius strip, and then a paper strip with two half twists. So now they started giving, more twist to the strip and then again drawing that line and cutting along that line. So it was the midline in all these cases. Okay. So now you can see when they started, tabulating these observations. So this they could see, some possibilities of, that some pattern is unfolding and there could be some possibilities for generalization. Right.
Okay.
So if you just look at, for these columns where there is no twist and then there are two twists and four twists. So the result, they are all two-sided surfaces and the also, when you cut along the midline, so results are quite similar in the sense that you are always getting, two separate bands which were very identical to the original band,
Hmm.
right? Only the width is getting half, and in the cases when the twists are more, like there are two half twists and four more twists, it's just, the bends are interlocked,
Hmm.
right? Rather than
Hmm.
being separate. So that was the
Hmm.
difference. right? And when we look at, these strips with uh, one half twist, three half twist, so what was happening here? They were all one-sided surfaces, and you ended up getting a single band, but much more twisted than the original band. So length getting twice and width getting half. So
Okay.
this started, articulating some uh, possibilities for generalization from here.
Wow. So let me just stop here and pick out some things which I observed. The first is that you it started with just almost like playing with
Yeah,
paper, you know, but slowly you began to talk about things like patterns. Then you mentioned the word generalization. So I can see that your class was beginning to function like mathematicians, right?
yeah.
Yeah. So tell me more about the generalizations.
Yeah, so we went ahead with the after cutting so many strips and looking tabulating these results. So these tabulated observations actually led us to some generalizations. So these are the generalizations. So it is for the when there are even number of twists in the paper strip and when there are odd number of twists in the paper strip. So it's like same when are we getting two-sided surfaces when the twists are even, and when are we getting one-sided surfaces. So all the twists with odd all the strips with odd number of twists, they were like Mobius like only, they were all one-sided surfaces. Even the resulting band is quite like you are getting two and plus two half twists every time. And then um, yeah, then there was another observation which was made, that when when you begin cutting the paper strip with three half twists, so it was a single band, but the band was a little knotted. So maybe I can show it to you. I
Yeah.
hope it's visible. So these are not two separate paper strip. They are just entangled. In between there is a knot. Otherwise,
Huh.
it's a single paper strip, right?
Okay. Okay.
So for
Okay.
n greater than one, in case of odd number of twists, you were getting these knotted bands, right? So they added this, to their
Even
generalization. Yeah,
even number or odd number?
odd number.
Okay. Okay. So you started getting these knots when they were odd number.
Yeah,
And
otherwise it was a single. Yeah, it was a single paper strip, like you are
oh,
getting for the Mobius strip with
oh,
one half twist. So it was
oh,
quite similar, but the resulting band now had a knot in it. It was kind
okay.
of knotted.
Okay. Okay. I also noticed a pattern. If we can just go back to the previous slide.
Yeah, sure.
I didn't notice it before, but when it said two half twists, then it says eight half twists. Is that, yeah? When n is three, there was, I mean, number of half twists. When the half twists were three, you got eight.
Yeah,
When the half twists were one, you got four single band with four half twists.
yeah.
So I'm also seeing a pattern of powers of two. Is that right? Did that continue?
Yeah, it was actually 2n plus 2 half twists that you start getting.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Nice, nice.
So the
Hmm.
other, now you can, if you predict, now you can predict, for n is equal to 6. So it
Huh.
will be 12 half twists.
Okay, okay, okay.
Sorry, n is equal to 5. N is equal to 5. So you can
Huh.
predict, so they are going to be 12 half.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because it has got odd number. So the band will be knotted again. It will be a single band only. It will be knotted and it will be very twisted with 10 half,
Oh,
12
okay,
half. Sorry.
okay, okay. Wow. So, so you did the activity. It was an interactive class, clearly, and the students were able to see the pattern. You generalized. So normally, a teacher would be feeling quite satisfied at the end of this and saying, "Okay, that was a good class, and I did a lot of maths here." And did you say QED and end the class?
No, actually we didn't. We went much beyond this. So
Okay.
this cutting experiment took in, imagining another exploration. So now
Okay.
what happened from here? So it was raised, Like, why are we always cutting the strip along the midline? So let's
So who
vary the
raised that?
distance.
Who raised
Sorry,
that? Who
the
raised that?
student teachers, yeah, the student
Oh,
teachers.
okay,
So
wow, okay.
they were working in small groups during this
Huh,
activity. So some of them felt, why are we always cutting along the midline? Right.
huh.
So maybe we can vary the distance from the edge. Why not one third? Why not one fourth? So
Hmm,
that is how another experiment, was imagined, and then we went ahead with it.
hmm,
So I will just share that and what happened. Yeah. So we first tried it with just student teachers first tried it with just the Mobius strip. So they have already cut it along the midline. So now they wanted to check what happens, when you cut it along, a one third distance from the edge and one fourth distance. So here I'm showing, a Mobius strip. So it has been divided into thirds, and below it is, the resultant band when you cut across that one third line. So here
hmm,
what was happening was, so it's not just about just cutting the strips and observing the pattern. Here students actually did this shading or color coding. Why? Because they also wanted to understand it better, like what was actually happening.
hmm,
So they
hmm,
knew like they were getting a Mobius band here, which was
hmm,
quite that was similar to the identical one. It was just a bit narrower, and the other was a longer twisted strip, similar as which they have got when the Mobius strip was cut in half. So this was clear, but they wanted to understand it more. So they color coded the three parts, and then they saw that it is the middle portion that is coming out and making the Mobius band, and the extreme two ends were forming the other strips.
okay,
So
okay.
like has it been divided into fourths, so the middle two fourths would have become the Mobius band, and
Huh,
the rest part of it would have been the other strip,
okay,
the
okay,
four half strips. Yeah.
all right.
So
So,
again, hmm,
yeah, so there is a knot there in the middle, is it?
no. Now you
It's,
are not getting the knot, but you will get the knot when you will, cut a paper strip with three half twists.
huh,
So if you cut it along one third, so again you will get two bands. The in between will become the Mobius one, and
huh,
then the other band will be a knotted one because it is related to what result did you get when you cut it in half, cut it along the
huh,
midline.
huh.
So we were getting the knotted strip for when there were three half twists in the paper.
Mm.
So for in that case, you will get a very twisted and knotted band.
So the students were actually seeing some similarities and some differences.
Yeah, yeah.
And all
So
of this was only with one twist, right? They were working
yeah,
with
yeah,
one twist, but varying the width of the strip, right?
yeah. Only one half twist they are working with right
One
now.
half.
They are just varying the distance. So
Oh,
previously they were varying the number of twists in the paper strip. So now they are varying the distance from the edge
oh,
and then
oh,
trying to understand what's happening.
all right. Okay.
So yeah. So here again, when they started, tabulating their observations, so
Hmm,
that was the pattern that I have just talked about. So there were two bands, one
hmm,
Mobius band. Okay, so that was the middle part, which was identical to the original, and the
hmm.
other band, which was similar to what you have obtained after cutting the Mobius strip along the midline. So
Okay.
these were the paths that you were getting. So again,
Okay.
it was unfolding that pattern, which they could see and then generalize.
All right. Okay. Okay, great. So, did they again I mean, you said they generalized, but
Yeah.
did you actually push them towards a generalization, or did they come up with some way of pulling out generalizations?
Yeah, so see how this happened was like initially when they were observing, so from the very first experiment, they were cutting the strips and writing their predictions and all what they have got of the resulting when they have got. So they were taking the notes were quite random, so they were just noting it down. But
Huh.
since I was pushing them to predict the results or look for some, if you can look for some regularities, that actually that forced them to sift through the information again and again. So then they, felt the need that they need to be a bit systematic. So this
Huh.
is how, they evolved the table along
Oh, they
to
evolved the
organize
table.
all the
You didn't give them.
information. Yeah,
You didn't give them the table.
no. So
Okay.
that
Okay.
this is how it evolved, because when they felt the need for it, so
Huh.
and they could see that it's actually helping them, to
Hmm.
look at all the observations, look at the regularities in those particular instances, and it was helping them a lot when they were being systematic, and they were systematically organizing all these observations.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay, so I can see that from a demonstration, the students were actually taking ownership of the class, right? They wanted to color the middle part. They wanted to make a table to document their findings. Okay, so I mean, already you've kind of sold the case for making designing activities like this. But tell me, what did the students say? Did they enjoy all this?
Yeah.
Or
So I
do you
just
want to
come to
establish the generalization before we go on to that?
Yeah, so it was the generalization that I was talking about. So the Mobius band, I hope now everybody would understand that symbolic expression, what m minus 2 by m. So it was the middle part that was coming out, and we are just subtracting the extreme two ends of of the paper strip here, right?
Uh,
And the other band, its width was 1 by m, and it was quite similar to the uh, band that you would have obtained, cutting along the midline. So one thing that I would like to stress here was like, so they were just moving back and forth, among all these representations. We started from this was the resulting band, which you could actually see. Then this is the, description that they had put in their tables, and then the symbolic form. So there was a lot of back and forth, between all these representations that they had to do all this
mm,
during
mm,
this task. So that
mm,
was, I think, kind of important
mm.
because they were going back and forth relating it to this is the result we obtained. So now is this matching with the description that we are writing or the generalizations that we are arriving at?
Yeah, yeah. We've just got the PPT back up again. So I just want you to repeat that m minus 2 by m, if you
Yeah,
can.
so
Mm.
yeah, so it's m minus 2 by m is related to, that the paper strip was divided into, mth parts. So
Huh.
the middle part was always coming out as the Mobius bend and leaving the extreme two ends, right?
Okay.
So that
Yeah.
is why we have subtracted two from there
Okay.
because those two extreme ends were making the another band.
Okay, 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 okay. And there were M original parts. Yeah. All right. And another band obtained is two side. Okay, so that was the other band which you got, right?
Yeah,
And they both were looped together.
yeah, they were interlocked.
Yeah, interlooped. Okay. Thank you. So,
Yeah,
so you, this is the table they came up with?
yeah. This is the table they came up toward the end. Like they say, कि now we can predict, varying both the variables. So we can do it for any strip now with any number of twists and
Huh.
also any distance from the edge, right?
Mm,
So this table, this was like I will call this gives you a bigger picture, and it was like synthesis of all that they had done previously. So
mm,
the generalizations that they had done, they had formulated previously. Those actually acted as a basis for this newer generalization. So
mm.
now they could fill in any of the cells, predicting the result for any of the paper strips.
Okay, okay. Yeah, so I can see that along the columns you were showing the distance, and along the rows you were showing the number of twists. So, and did you say that they were predicting before they actually did it?
I encourage them to predict, because that
Huh.
that forced them to look, for some pattern, some common features in those instances,
So
because they
they were
wanted to
making
refine their
conjectures.
predictions. Yeah,
So they were making conjectures, in other words.
yeah, exactly. They were
Okay.
making those, they were testing those
Yeah.
because
And were their conjectures kind of accurate, or did they have to? make a conjecture, then experiment, then go back and change their
Yeah,
conjecture.
so there is of course back and forth. So they made this conjecture for, like, they got an idea that there is something about the even number of twists and the odd number of twists. But when
Huh.
they started testing it with the other script, it got more refined. Like they started getting some knotted strips and all. So they added that those observations also to their
Okay.
to the
Yeah.
generalization part.
Yeah. Thank you. So let's move on. What did your students say about all of this? Did they enjoy the activity?
Yeah, so I show their comments. What did they?
Oh,
Oh, I think it's not. Was it showing?
just 1 minute. Yeah, it's coming on.
I think there is some problem. Can you see the? Can you see their statements?
No, no, they're not coming on.
Yeah, there is some
Okay,
problem.
let's go. Yeah, let's go to.
Shall I share again?
It's on the screen. You just have to scroll, I think.
No,
Yeah.
actually, it's not. It's not showing the comments here. So maybe I'll just stop and
Okay.
then try it again. Just
Please
one
do.
minute. Just 1 minute.
No problem. So I just want to sum up what Charu did while she is figuring out the presentation. Uh, we saw that she started with a simple paper folding or paper, uh, cutting activity, but she designed so many investigations, and slowly the ownership of the whole activity moved to the students themselves. You can see that they started suggesting things, suggesting explorations. They started observing patterns. They started recording, documenting. So I think this is proving a very powerful case that we need to hand over the work in the math class to the students. Only then they can feel it is their math class. I'm sure all of you all agree with me. If you have questions for Charu, please do put it in the comment box. We will take questions in the last 10 minutes. We still have a way to go. Charu, are we ready with the PPT? Is it coming on? You're on mute, Charu. Yeah, great. It's coming on.
Is it visible this way?
No, can you show slide? I can see some interesting characters, but can't read what they're saying. Maybe if you can't do that, you could just read out. You're not able to go into slideshow mode, is it?
Can you read it now?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is
actually, it's not showing in the slideshow mode. Yeah, that's why I'm
there.
showing it.
Okay, okay. So I can see a very puzzled looking person. I need my glasses, just a minute. We were not restricted to think in one direction. One idea led to another and was built on by the peers. Okay, yeah, that clearly emerged, that comment. We never thought of studying mathematics in such a creative manner. We came across some very unexpected results that surprised us in many ways. It included a way of doing things and learning. Wow. Okay. We were very excited, but also pretty baffled, as it was sometimes difficult to see what was happening in some cases, and even trickier to predict what was going to happen. Okay, so you've got some very honest students here, and I think you've
Yeah.
captured, exactly the mood in which they were functioning in the classroom. And I have a comment in the middle. We wondered how surprising it would be for elementary class children to perform such experiments. Well, it was such a curious experience for us. So that actually crossed my mind. Uh, do you think that children would also enjoy this? I mean, they would, but can you see any difficulties which did not arise because these were actually young adults?
Uh, of course, young children, are also going to experience. They are going to find it quite interesting. So, can you, ma'am, please repeat the question?
No, I was just saying you did this with a group of young adults.
Yeah.
Uh, I can see that a teacher will have to have some kind of more scaffolding when they're doing it with children, particularly because they're working with scissors and things. So I guess
Mhm.
that they would have to work with, students who are maybe in sixth standard or seventh standard, right?
Yeah,
Who have a kind of introduction to algebra if they want to go to this level of uh, generalization. Is that right?
yeah, or maybe they can adapt it, to
Yeah, yeah,
younger children, maybe not going, with such levels of sophistication.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
so
Thank you.
maybe they can, yeah, or maybe, not necessarily the same task, but maybe some variations of, different kinds
Yeah.
of tasks, which will,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So that's what I
help them to
really
keep up.
like about this task, that it's possible to tease out strands which are themselves interesting, even though you may not go to the depth which you did in with the elementary pre-service teachers. I left out what I found the most interesting comment, which is the one on the top left. While working in the group, we had this feeling that everyone can do mathematics. It's not about how intelligent or smart you are. Wow. So you've kind of vanquished math phobia, right?
Yeah,
Well done, Charu. But I am also looking at a phrase. What everyone can do mathematics. In your
yeah.
opinion, what is doing mathematics?
Yeah, so that is an important question. So I'll just come to that. But before that, I just want to make a comment on these statements. So
Huh.
these are directly from the student journals that they were keeping. So they were writing down their thought processes, their feelings, and it was also great to see. They were also revisiting their school experiences, their images of mathematics, which have been communicated to them through their school experiences, and also who can do mathematics, right?
Huh.
So they were, all these assumptions that they had were also challenged during this time when they were writing those reflections and when they themselves got an experience of engaging with these processes. So I think that was most important and one of my central goals also. So now
Okay.
I will come to your question, ma'am.
Huh.
Yeah, so this
Okay.
was the central goal also that you just talk about, that it was to engage all student teachers in doing mathematics because in their 12 to 14
Yeah.
years of studying mathematics in school, as
Yeah.
most of them had shared, they had
Hmm.
hardly had any experience, engaging with such open-ended tasks and with such level of participation, actively participating in the classroom and
Okay.
also guiding them through some alternative ways of thinking about mathematics and also what it means to do and teach mathematics.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so here it is. So what does it mean to do mathematics? What does it entail?
Huh.
So these are some of the processes.
Okay. So I can see clearly that this Mobius strip activity did looking for patterns, making and testing conjectures, generalizing relationships, posing new problems, formulating convincing arguments and explanations. Wow. I think you've kind of covered everything on this list uh, the activities that they did. Do you want to add anything to this, Charu? Do you want
Yeah,
to share?
actually, yeah. So these are just some of the processes. So there could be a lot more, and we need not have all the processes at the same time in one task only. But yeah, there is back and forth between and mutual interaction between a lot of processes. So I just want to say that these are some of the processes which also figure in the work of mathematicians. So like you can read about George Follia, some excerpts from George Follia's book, Lakataw's book. So you will find how even mathematicians make use of these processes while solving problems. So also underlying this understanding of doing mathematics lies an image of mathematics. How are you seeing mathematics? So here the image of mathematics, that kind of uh, becomes explicit is that you are seeing mathematics as an exploratory, dynamic, and human activity.
Hmm. Hmm. Charu, we have one comment which I think I will just raise over here right away. Uh, One of our viewers has said, starting some prediction or estimating results in such activities, is it appropriate to say it is generalized? Because surely a generalization requires proof.
Uh, See, in this, uh, yeah, you can went ahead with proving actually. So children were, student teachers were quite careful with those generalizations, So
Hmm.
they were trying to understand those what's happening. So of course it is matlab, you always to validate it mathematically you need a proof because we can't do it for all kind of strips. But
Hmm.
we we can arrive at some generalizations with if we have the kind of explanations we had and the evidence we have got. But yeah,
Hmm.
I mean we have to be very careful with these also because sometimes these could be there could be misleading um, patterns that we could see and misleading generalizations also that we can have.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I agree to
Yeah.
this.
So I think that encouraging them to generalize also helps them to test for validity of the generalization. So I would say the generalization is something that should be done, but like you said, that process of testing, is my generalization valid? Can I prove that it is valid? That is, an unsaid part of this. And thank you,
Yeah.
Vikas Sharma, for raising this point.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Because that's an important one. Otherwise, yeah, you have to be very, you can't be so free with, those generalizations. So it's about, not just observing those patterns. It's not just about seeking, what is happening, but
mm.
also, you need to get into, why is this happening? So only then, maybe you can get to some, the underlying processes or structures you get to see and which you can generalize.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Charu. Please continue.
Yeah, I'll stop here, ma'am.
So you did talk about, the student teachers' comments on how their classrooms had been. So, do you want to share a little bit about what most classrooms have sounded like from what you've heard?
So yeah, based on my classroom observations and also some descriptions from the research studies, so much of what happens in classrooms is like teacher teacher demonstrating an algorithm, students following it step by step, and then they are offered to practice it repeatedly. So
Hmm.
it's kind of the picture of mathematics that you come across, the image of mathematics that you come across is more like, a set of procedures and rules. Students have to memorize, remember, and, recall whenever some problem is posed to them. And so that becomes, knowing and doing mathematics becomes all this about, remembering those, following all the steps. So it
And
completely, I mean, yeah, changes
mathematics
the
becomes
meaning.
very two-dimensional, no? Writing on paper.
Yeah,
It's
in terms of remembering, and you already have some ready-made. You already know the algorithm in advance, or you have some formula in advance. You just
yeah,
need to apply it.
yeah. And doing
So
mathematics just becomes about, doing a lot of problems on pen and paper. And what
yeah,
you have shown us is a very different definition of doing mathematics, right? So, would you be able to suggest some ways of what a math classroom should have? Some characteristics of what you think a more happening math class could look like.
yeah. So if we start imagining some alternative possibilities of creating these mathematics learning environments. So here we are talking about, bringing in a range of problem situations, where children can engage with and which can encourage, multiple solution paths, multiple approaches, and they can work around with multiple representations like move back and forth between them. And I think, by this also you are giving some productive, you are bringing some productive dispositions about the discipline against that dull and boring picture of mathematics. Maybe something like, a creative endeavor, very interesting, which you can engage with. And also to children, about themselves, what they feel about themselves as learner of mathematics. So they will, grow up maybe just thinking about themselves as capable learners and doers of mathematics, and
Okay.
engaging them all, making it accessible to more and more students, because it's
Okay.
different, yeah,
Okay. So accessible, uh, that's a big word nowadays. So can you elaborate a little
yeah,
bit on
yeah.
that? Yeah.
So like when we are talking about, valuing different ways of solving problems, different ways of thinking, different ways of doing things, so you allow, you open up space for more and more children, to come and participate. That,
Hmm.
using insisting on just one right way of doing things and arriving at that one right answer, it tend to advantage only a few, but it
Hmm.
alienates, a majority of children.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Charu.
Thank you.
Uh, so you have defined quite a few characteristics of a good math class. Can we just have the PPT up so that we can?
Yeah, yeah,
Do you
sure.
have?
Yeah, I wanted to share
Yeah.
something.
So Charu says that we need to have different activities which cater to different types of learners and which engage the students, that do not frighten them. I think what she was saying was that they need to enjoy the math class and feel that it is easy to step into the math class. Um,
Is
while I
it
was,
visible now?
yes, yes, yes.
Okay. So what I was talking about when I was talking about the, creating, building a classroom culture and creating, mathematical learning environment. So when you have such tasks, which foreground mathematical processes, so in a way it contributes towards creating communities of learning. So
Hmm.
in such tasks, the interactions and collaborations play a very important role. So this kind of, I chose this diagram as it shows all the interactions which are happening at that time. So it's between, it's not just, from teacher to student, which usually
Hmm.
is the case, right?
Hmm.
Teacher, talking about some mathematical topic and transmitting it to the students. So it's about, interactions between students. They are trying out different strategies. They are explaining their thinking to their partners. They are talking about it. Teacher, orchestrating those classroom discussions, listening to children's explanations. They are trying to analyze their solution strategies. So that's what I was talking about.
Okay, okay. That's an interesting diagram. I like the way the context goes out of the center circle. Because are you talking about connecting to context outside the classroom?
Yeah. So this is, I'm situating those interactions in some wider context. See, those interactions are kind of not happening in some vacuum, but in some wider context. So these wider contexts are like, that what is the national education policy like? What are the larger school organization and structure like? Do they allow for such experimentation in the classroom?
Mm,
How do they support teachers in, bring these changes in the classroom? How the examination and the assessment system is like, because we have all seen, it, when they are too rigid and narrow, so it puts so much of pressure on teachers and students that all these interactions get influenced. So in
yeah.
a way, the larger point that I want to make through this diagram was the, how that when you want to make these changes in the classroom, when you're thinking about these classroom reforms, school reforms, so there are, a lot of systemic changes and structural changes also that need to accompany these things. So teachers need to be supported in improving their practice and all. So that
Okay.
was the larger thing I wanted to talk about, interacting with those contexts.
Yeah. Thank you, Charu. You mentioned NEP, and I can see that this activity exemplifies a lot of the points talked about in NEP. But one more thing which I really feel a little worried about when I see practices in the classroom is integration of art. Sometimes art integration becomes extremely, just done because it has to be done. I can see that something like this Mobius strip activity can actually help to integrate art in a more meaningful way in the mathematics classroom. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think, yeah. It
Yeah.
expands, I think, some way it expands their spatial sense and also some bit of aesthetics also that was included.
Yeah, yeah. While we were talking earlier, you actually mentioned that people like Escher had actually
Yeah.
created
So
artwork based on the Mobius strip, right?
right. So maybe those would be, the starting point for some conversations. I would show it.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. All right. Have you tried any other activities, Charu?
Yeah. So ma'am, I'll show that also.
Yeah, yeah.
So is the screen visible?
It's coming on. Oh, wow. Okay.
So if you just look at the top right, I mean we have all we are all so familiar with this symbol. This is the recycling symbol. So maybe can you now see, this is actually composed of Mobius strip. This is the Mobius strip with three halves to it. So
Yeah,
I think we
yeah,
never recognized like it ever, before this.
yeah, yeah,
And also MC Escher, so these are the ants who are moving on, which are moving on the Mobius strip. So we were just talking about this the other day, ki if the ants are on the opposite side of the paper strip, or if they are just looking like, because Mobius strip has one side only, so they are
yeah,
all on the same side of the strip.
yeah, yeah.
So also,
And
I chose, yeah,
sorry, please go on.
yeah, I chose MC Escher. So I would just suggest audience if they can look at his artwork. It has been, even with tessellations, which is now with NCF 2005, which is also part of the primary mathematics school curriculum. So he
Yeah,
has, done some fascinating work integrating art and mathematics. So even, with tessellations and with some symmetry, so you can explore his works. One of the
yeah.
renowned artists.
Yeah. I really like the somewhat philosophical tone of the ants going on and on. And I'm reminded of a student of mine whose engagement ring was a Mobius strip. And she said that it for her it symbolized this eternity of love, which I
Yeah,
thought was a very
yeah.
nice symbol.
So this was also used as a motif in, NVP 2019, just to show, that ongoing pursuit of knowledge.
Yeah, yeah,
So it
yeah,
has come to symbolize all this also over the years.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
so I will.
we have about 5 minutes left. So could you just share any other activities
Yeah,
if
yeah,
you?
yeah. I'll just quickly go through some other. Yeah. So it's a very interesting game, and there are numerous, variations available. It's playing name game. So it was also played with children in the class. So the rules are very simple. It's a game for, and I'm starting with the simplest version of NIM, though there are, you can increase the complexity and there are a lot of versions available which are quite complex. So it is a game for two players. You can start with a row of seven pebbles, and you can pick only one or two pebbles at a time. And the player who picks the last one or two pebble wins. So
Okay.
the question is how to win this game. So you can try. So audience can try this with the children in the classroom. They enjoy it a lot. So they start playing first, and so as the teacher was observing them, so she saw that the moment they reached three pebbles, when there were three pebbles at the end, so
Huh.
children will just stop playing and they already knew who has won and who has lost it. So she started the conversation when she asked all of the she brought all of the pairs together and asked that why did you stop playing when there were only three marbles left? How did you know? So, students kind of explaining that when there were only three pebbles left, when my friend left me three pebbles only for me, so I had just these options. Okay, and no matter I pick one, I pick any of them. So, like, sorry, it's like, leaving three marbles for your opponent. So when you leave three, so no matter I pick one or two, my friend is going to be the last one, right?
mm,
Who is going
mm,
to pick the
mm,
pebbles. So
mm,
that was the first stage, where students had actually started strategizing, right?
mm,
So now teacher push them ahead. So you are starting with the row of seven pebbles. How will you make sure from the very beginning, that you are going to win, that you are going to leave, three pebbles for your friend and then win the game, right? So now they again, start playing. So she was focusing, their attention on some key moments in the game. So they start playing, had if we had, four or five marbles. So then when they go ahead with the six marbles, so they see, again they get a sure win when they leave
mm.
six marbles for their friend. So they will be the one, because the friend can pick only one or two. So they will be the one who will be leaving three for their friend, right? And winning the game. So
Yeah.
gradually, one of so some suggested they kind of got this key. Nine could be the other one. So it's something to do with the table of nine, but also understanding that why these multiples of three are actually helping them strategize, and this will always lead them to pick up to leave for their opponent six marbles and then three marbles, right? So this is how they went ahead with it, and also looking at those patterns, relating it with those multiples of three. But also this was extended in a lot many ways. So now, what if I pick one, two, or three pebbles at a time? So will the strategy be still the same?
Huh.
If it change, how will it change? Yeah. And one of the times we also changed the winning rule. Okay, so we said that whoever will pick, the last pebble or counter, that is going to, lose the game.
Yeah.
So now
Yeah.
what will happen? Right?
Yeah.
So how will you strategize? How will the previous strategy will change? So it
Okay.
takes you, in a lot of different directions.
And I think at the
That is,
same time, you develop this strategic thinking, in
yeah,
a very solid mathematical way. You're planning your strategy, right?
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I have actually used this game for older students when I want to introduce arithmetic progressions, but I can see that even younger children would like to play it, and I think that teachers are very comfortable with activities which actually link to topics which they need to teach in the syllabus. Because there's always this question of, if I do all this, can I complete the syllabus? So, do you think this will work for younger students? And have you tried it? What topics would it connect to?
Yeah, of course this can work, like, so we have patterns. We work with repeating patterns. We work with growing patterns. And rather, when you work with this, like we have worked a lot with repeating and growing patterns. So children visualize in a lot of ways, and they, like with growing patterns, they generate, so many equivalent numerical expressions. And
Hmm.
then when they go toward generalization, so it is like, these activities are like you can build bridges from arithmetic to algebra also. So
Hmm.
that could be also a meaningful context, for introducing the variables as well, right?
Hmm.
And there could be, many open-ended tasks in, like with respect to systematic counting. So
Hmm.
if I want to, go about making bonds of 10, like in class one, because bonds
Hmm.
of 10 help you a lot, even in mental computations and computing,
Hmm.
it makes the computation convenient.
Hmm.
So rather I could, tell them that what all that there are, I have two colored pencils, and they total they are 10. So what
Hmm.
possibilities, are there for me, having red pencils and blue pencils? So let them work out with all those possibilities systematically, see, and ask them that how do you know you have found all the possibilities, and you have,
Okay.
not, yeah. So
Okay.
some of these could come up, you can even, some of the textbook exercise, those could be adapted into some open-ended tasks, which can, children can explore. So we usually talk about perimeter, but if I, uh, so we will give a length of the rectangle, perimeter of the rectangle, and ask them to get the breadth. very typical kind of exercise. But if I actually tell them, I that this is the perimeter I have got, and I want to make a rectangular pen, so what all possible dimensions can be for that rectangle, and
Yeah.
which one would you choose?
Yeah. And which one would you choose?
You
Yeah, the
choose, yeah.
personal context coming in there. Yeah. Yeah, I think we've given us a lot of ideas, Charu, and I think you've been so clear that there aren't any more questions. However, there are a couple of comments. Vikas Sharma says the context includes NEP, NCF. Beyond this, will it include local maths, community, and daily life problem solving? So I think what he's saying is that when you talk of context, it should also bring in such factors.
Yeah, so this will, like, when I'm saying the opening up, the classroom for different kinds of, problem solving and all. So even in our, I'm talking from my student teachers experiences also. So in schools, we have seen that there are many students who assist, their parents in lots of vending activities. So they are, engaging in lots of, uh, addition, subtraction, all these, different kinds of procedures which are not same as those school taught algorithms actually, right?
Hmm.
Even a lot of measuring using, non-standard units to a variety of, standard units. So
Hmm.
these are the resources, this is the informal knowledge that children bring to the class, but which usually not find space in the classroom. So
Hmm.
when stop insisting on getting that one right algorithm, one right rule, so maybe we can open up, the spaces for all these procedures to come in. Okay, like I remember, one child where it was, vertically, we give vertical problem, so it was written 500 minus 265, and now you have to borrow, borrow, and borrow. So the child was thinking, why do we always insist on borrowing? First borrow from five, then make it 10, then then borrow it again. So I can, just 265. I can add five, it makes 270, 30, it makes 300, and then 500.
Hmm.
So now shall I insist here on that, getting that right way, which I call right way, or letting these, these reasoning, this flexibility of procedures come in the classroom?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. I look forward to more and more such activities, and you can read all about this in the March issue, which the link to that has been put up. I know that the PPT was not very clear, judging by some of the comments. I think that you could access the article. I request that the link to the article is also shared once more so that people can access the article online and can see for themselves and try for themselves more than read for themselves. I'd like you all to try it. Looking forward to your comments. Please do send in such ideas and more articles to atria.editor@apu.edu.in. Dinesh Verma, I think this webinar will not have space to discuss the basic operations by using Abacus, but I'm sure that future webinars and articles could focus on that. And yeah, keep reading, enjoy yourselves. Thank you very much, Charu. And
Thank you.
we look forward to having you back here with us with other such activities.
Yeah, that would be an honor for me.